Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you could join us for tonight's Celebrations Around the World. My name is Lisa. I'm with the Tampa-Hillsborough County Public Library, and today we are going to be talking about celebrations of thanks and how that's expressed in a bunch of places around the world. As we're going through this, just kind of keep in mind that this is a program where we're going to give you information about a lot of places that might be very similar or very different from what you celebrate at home. So remember, there's no right or wrong way. We're just going to learn about different ways. And before we get too deep into our adventure around the world, we wanted to let you know that there is a lot of information that I got for this program. I got from library resources, and one of those is Nat Geo Kids. You can get the Nat Geo Kids for free with your library card. There's a lot of fun stuff on there, including ebooks like this one, and they even have a read-along function on there. So check those out. hcplc.org/kids has all those fun resources on there, including the Nat Geo Kids. All right, we've got our big map up. Some of you might have joined us for a few of these sessions before and know that we've started putting the big map up to give you kind of an overview of the various places that we're going to be stopping on our little journey following these celebrations. So kind of keep an eye out for the various stops that we make along the way, and hope you're looking forward to it. So our first stop of the evening, we are stopping in Asia, and we are going to be stopping in Malaysia and Japan. Now, both of these places are in Asia, but there's not a lot in common between them otherwise. So why are we having them together on one slide? Well, I thought it was interesting that these two places have the earliest and the latest celebration of thanks that I found in all the places that I looked at. So we have Malaysia on here first, and they celebrate their Festival of Thanks. It is a harvest festival, and they celebrate that in May. So it's called Kamatan, or the Harvest Festival. It is in May, and the harvest that they're celebrating is the rice harvest. It's been celebrated for a very long time, and it's believed to have started to celebrate the end of a rice famine long, long ago. There are ritual stages to that celebration that is led by a ritual specialist or a priest. And the last stage of that celebration leads into big festivities like dancing and singing competitions and beauty pageants and lots of traditional sports. So that's the earliest one in May that I found. The latest celebration that I found is all the way at the end of November. So in Japan, they celebrate, and I've been practicing this pronunciation, but I might not have it quite right. It's Kinro Kansha no Hi. It's the Labor Thanksgiving Day. So this is different from their Labor Day. This is the Labor Thanksgiving Day. And one of the ways that they celebrate it is they have school children making cards and gifts for public employees, like firefighters and hospital workers, and they're librarians. So all the public servants, the public employees get handmade cards and presents from kids. So I thought that was a really fun one, but that is the latest one that I found that's celebrated on November 23rd. So as we go through, just keep in mind, if any questions pop up as we go along, you're going to type those into the questions box in the GoToWebinar menu. And then we will we'll go through those and during the Q&A session at the end of the program. I won't be able to read it while we're going through the program, but we will get to your questions at the end. So make sure you pop those in there. So here, I'm not going to leave you with just some boring black and white maps. I've got some pictures in here too. So this is an example of the celebration of thanks in Malaysia, the Kamatan Festival. And this is a fun picture I found of kids drawing the pictures that they're going to give the various workers around town for the Labor Thanksgiving Day in Japan. Next up, so we're still in Asia. Now we're going to visit some countries that celebrate their holidays on a lunar calendar. So around the world, some folks use a calendar that's based on the sun. Some folks use calendars based on completely different things. Some of them have calendars based on the cycles of the moon. So a lot of places in Asia have that. And we're going to be stopping in China, South Korea, and Vietnam. All three of those countries celebrate their big festival of thanks, their big harvest thanks festival in the 8th lunar month. And that usually lines up for us with usually September, October timeframe. So in China, they have the Mooncake Festival. It's started around 1600 BCE. It's not in every area of Japan, but it is, it's not in every area of China, sorry. But in a lot of the regions it is. And they have this tradition of making the mooncakes during that festival. And the oldest person in the house is the one who gets to cut that cake into pieces and give it to each of the family members there. So it's a big family reunion festival as well. So people are gathering, celebrating, giving thanks for the harvest, but also giving thanks for their family coming back together. In South Korea, we have Chuseok, which is on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month. So the South Korean festival started with a month-long weaving contest. So I thought that was interesting. Most of the celebrations of thanks that I found, all the big festivals that I found, had tended to be more around harvest festivals and harvest themes. And the South Korean one seems to have come more from, or have been celebrated with a big tradition of weaving. So I thought that was very interesting. And in Vietnam, we have the another mid-autumn 8th lunar month festival. It seems to be very similar to the Chinese festival, and that's where a lot of that one originated. But there are also some newer traditions that I found where kids will gather with their family and they'll go outside to watch the moon, since it is a lunar festival. And then when the moon is out there and high in the sky, they'll have kids singing and dancing, watching that full moon. There's a lot of lanterns involved with this one. We have these beautiful, colorful lanterns, kids out watching the moon. I thought that was extra special, and I love seeing some of the pictures of that. Some communities will also have the lion dancing or the dragon dancing for the kids. So there's a lot of folk games, competitions. So that one seems like a very fun festival. There we go. So we've got a picture of our mooncakes up here. Those look extra tasty. And then we have an example of a Korean family get together. They've all gotten together in fancy traditional clothes for their special family reunion and festival. And in Vietnam, we have this great picture of the kids out looking at the moon and playing with lanterns and enjoying parades. So that one looks especially fun. All right, so those were our lunar calendars in Asia. But we also have lunar calendars, for example, in the Middle East. So in Israel, we have a celebration called Sukkot. And this is going to be a 7-day long festival of rejoicing and celebrating the end of the 40-year exodus, time in the desert after the exodus from slavery in Egypt. So the Sukkot word comes from the name that they had for the huts that they lived in while they were in that period of exile. So you'll have families sometimes getting together and building one in their backyard for the celebration. Sometimes you have extra large ones built maybe at a synagogue or a community center for the larger community in the area to get together for their celebration. So I thought that was fun. There's some great pictures there. It almost looks like a perfect Florida lanai there to have that celebration. And one of the food elements that we find in this one is the citron. So they have it's very similar to a lemon, a little bit bigger, and it is one of the fruits used in this celebration. So this is another lunar celebration of thanks that I found. Here's that picture that we have of the hut or the Sukkot. Now we're going away from the lunar calendar. We're going to go over to the Zoroastrian calendar. There's several different ways that these have been converted or translated to align with the calendar that we use here in Florida. And depending on which one of those ways you use to translate their calendar, it could be a hugely different date that comes out. So one of the ones that we found looking at this was that the Merigan is on the 196th day of the Iranian or the Zoroastrian calendar. So that can vary depending on what the conversion is for that calendar. But this year it's looking at, I believe, like it was around October 8th for that festival. So this one came about 4th century, so about 400 years BCE. And it was, again, also a harvest celebration, but not just a harvest celebration. This is when people had to bring their taxes to the king. So maybe not so much a celebration for the people who had to pay their taxes. That might have been not as much fun, but it turned into a celebration all around that. So yes, they were bringing their taxes and their gifts and such to the king, but there was also a tradition there where the king would take his summer wardrobe and give it to everyone that came for this celebration and show off his new winter wardrobe. So some fancy new duds there if you showed up to that party. So this kind of tradition of the king giving away his clothes being part of the celebration kind of carries over to today, that there's still a big tradition of people buying themselves new clothes for this holiday. So a lot of celebrations that we have talked about in the past in this program were celebrations where people have maybe a new clothes associated with it. So I think in one, when we had our back to school celebrations, we learned that a lot of kids get new clothes for back to school, or Easter, there's a lot of new clothes. So this is another celebration that has new clothes involved. I thought that was interesting. There's also a tradition of applying the traditional eyeliner or kohl. So if you're wondering what that is, if you think kind of like the eye makeup that Cleopatra used, so very dark black eyeliner was traditionally used, and that's still kind of incorporated into some of the celebrations today. So you have a big table with lots of food, you've got some fancy makeup and new clothes. Sounds like a party. I think I would join in on that one. So this is a historic image of what it looked like way back in the day. So I'm seeing lots of fancy clothes and some very elaborate mustaches, maybe for twirling, maybe not. And this is a picture of what a festival table might look like today, with lots of party foods out and ready for celebration. All right, we've gone from there to, we're gonna pop back on our map, and we're gonna visit India and Sri Lanka and some of the other Tamil regions in India. And we're gonna be looking at the Festival of Pongal. It's a 4-day-long festival. This year it's January 12th through the 15th, I believe. It is the Hindu Harvest Festival celebrated by Tamil people in India and Sri Lanka and other places in that immediate area. And then, of course, throughout the world as they move. So this 4-day festival kind of celebrates the beginning of the end of the winter season in that part of the world. So we're going to have the first day celebrating the rains. The second day is going to celebrate the sun, and it's celebrated by making an offering with rice boiled in milk. That has some herbs with it as well. And then the third day celebrates cows, and you'll hear a lot of jingling of bells and beautiful pictures of them. There's a lot of flower art that's made during this time. So you'll see flower art and mandalas and flowers on the street, and maybe designs with cows as well. And then the fourth day has a big ceremony wishing prosperity on the family home. So this is another very fun and colorful festival. Got some pictures up here of some of the different aspects that I found of it. All right, we're on a whirlwind here. Next stop is in Africa. This time we're going to visit Ghana. And in Ghana, they have another celebration. It's a harvest celebration. This one is Homo, and it is the Yam Festival. It's usually in August or September, and it celebrates the ending of a famine that happened in pre-colonial times. So the Ga people had this terrible famine, and when they finally came out of it and they had the crops and everyone was able to eat, they started this Homo Festival. And that word means to laugh at hunger. So, they might have had a really hard time, but now they've got their food and they're going to laugh and enjoy their life. So that was a very joyous festival. There's the food that you're going to see a lot with this festival is yams and date nuts. Yams and date nuts have a huge role in this part of Africa for foods in general, but especially for this festival. So here are some of those beautiful pictures of the celebrations. You see there's a lot of music and cooking and food. There's also face painting and parades and singing and traditional dances. So another very joyous, colorful celebration, giving thanks for a good harvest. Our next stop is in Germany. So in Germany, oh, there we go. Looks like it covered up our map there, but that's okay. Germany, which is where I'm from, that's where I grew up. We have the Erntedank Fest. So the Erntedank Fest literally means harvest thanks. So this is another celebration where we're grateful for a bountiful harvest, where we have all these fantastic fruits and vegetables and grains that we're going to be able to have to carry us through the long winter. So this is not as big as Thanksgiving is in the US. It's not a huge family get-together type holiday. This is going to be something that's on a much smaller scale, just, maybe a special mass at the church. A lot of churches will have what they call an ecumenical service. And what that is when you have more than one religion coming together and celebrating a common holiday. So you'll see that a lot, but just on a very small scale, people might bring some fruits or harvest to the church with them as part of those celebrations, depending on where they go. Sometimes you'll see maybe a harvest festival or a market festival in town. But again, usually not a huge holiday, but it is pretty common throughout the more rural areas especially. Next stop, getting closer to home, we're going to stop off in the Americas and the Caribbean. We're stopping in Canada. So Canada has a Thanksgiving that is very, very similar to ours, but it's actually a little bit older. So Canada started celebrating their Thanksgiving in 1578 when Sir Martin Frobisher got to Canada from England, and they had a rough time of it and had some pretty limited supplies on board. But when they finally made it across the ocean and landed, they had a celebration with salted beef and mushy peas, but they were thankful that they had it. So that is the first Thanksgiving that Europeans had in that part of North America. Newfoundland folks still kind of incorporate some of those same food elements in their Thanksgiving celebration that they call a jigs dinner. A jigs dinner has boiled meat and has split pea puddings and sometimes cabbage rolls. So they take a lot of those original supper elements and incorporate them into their holiday. Since the late 1800s, it's been officially on the second Monday in October. So it's a month before ours, and it has a little bit of an older history than the American Thanksgiving does. But otherwise, it's going to look very, very similar with the feast and the spread. There we go. On top, that top picture there is an example of a jigs dinner, and the bottom is just your average Thanksgiving dinner. Next up, we are in Barbados. Barbados celebrates crop over. So this one is originated with the end of the sugar harvest in the late 1700s. And one of the big celebrations that happens during this festival is that the most productive cane cutters of the season end up being crowned as king and queen of the festival. And there are lots of parades with big elaborate costumes and music and dancing. It's going to look like the carnival parades that you might already be familiar with. It's very much like that. It's they call it the Grand Kaduma. Here are some fun pictures that we have of the crop over harvest celebrations in Barbados. So we've got the music and the drums, and we've got the big colorful costumes and the parades. Even Rhiannon has made her appearances in this parade, and we've got some pictures of kids with colorful stilts and costumes. So this looks like an extra joyous, fun one as well. And of course, we celebrate Thanksgiving in Tampa Bay. So we're always thankful that you're able to join us for these programs. And if you want to find more of them, hcplc.org/events. But let's see what we might be doing here in Tampa. So if you're going to go old school, maybe the Henry Plant Museum have a fancy old-fashioned dinner back in the day. Or maybe you take your pet turkey for a walk at the Florida Aquarium. Stranger things have happened in Florida. Maybe that's not your speed though. A lot of families will get together and have a day of service where maybe they work in a food kitchen for the Thanksgiving holidays to help those that are less fortunate than they are. But no matter how you celebrate it, I hope you have lots of fun with it this year and that you have many things to be thankful for. I love these pictures of folks out playing together and cooking together and enjoying that holiday. And if you have some time off for the Thanksgiving holidays, keep in mind we do have a bunch of reading lists available for Native American Heritage Month. So each of the big age groups, we have specific staff-picked reading lists. I've linked those in the chat box so that you can look those up after the program. But if you follow us at Tampa Hills Lib on our social media, we post those fairly regularly. But you can always go to hcplc.org for details as well. And don't forget that we have the largest digital book club. This one is geared more towards the YA or teen readers, but we have A Snake Falls to Earth by Darcy Little Badger. So between November 2nd and 16th, they're trying to get the most people to join in and read and discuss that book together. And I believe they have prizes as well. So you just want to pop over to that on our homepage and get the details for how to win those prizes through the organizers. I believe it's through Overdrive that has been coordinating that for the largest digital book club. Big Library Read. The Big Library Read is the name of the event. And last but not least, thank you. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. Remember, if you have any questions about this program, anything that we talked about, I know this is always a very, very quick program where we're able to just do a quick overview on things, but we hope that it inspired you to maybe look some more into those celebrations and the different countries that we learned about. So if you want any help finding that information or how to get more information on those, let us know. We're happy to point you in the right direction. I always have fun talking about celebrations. It's like getting to experience a party by proxy, so those are always fun. If you have any questions after the program, you can always reach us at hcplc.org/contact. Has all of our contact information on it. Our phone number 813-273-3652. hcplc.org/events has all of our upcoming programs on it, including our STEAM Time DIY crafting programs that we have regularly, and some more events for International Games Month and Native American History Month this month. So check those out, and whenever you're done, submit your library story. If you've done something fun with a library craft or seen something fun at the library, or just have a story to tell us about your experience there, you can always submit those. We love to see them. hcplc.org/stories. Let us know. And if you have questions, definitely type those in there. I'm happy to answer those while we're live. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions, so definitely check out those links for the Native American Heritage Month themed books that we have for you. And as always, we'll have a survey go out after this program where we would love to hear from you if you have any requests for celebrations that you might want to see us cover in the future. I always love to get your ideas there. We make these programs for you, so we want to make the content that you want to see. Let us know what that is. So I will see you next time for our next celebrations around the world. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay safe, stay dry, and we'll see you next time. Bye, friends.